Anthony Scaramucci is about to have a debate with Wall Street Journal about the future of cryptocurrency. This is a last-minute event, and I thought, why not bring it to you guys? I don't know what's going to be talked about, but I think this is going to be a really, really good event. Let's listen. He's about to start. So, yeah.
Hello, and welcome back to WSJ Live Q&A. I'm Gunjan Banerjee, lead writer for Live Markets here at the Wall Street Journal. I'm thrilled to have with me today Anthony Scaramucci, founder of Skybridge Capital, and John Reed Stark, the former chief of the SEC Office of Internet Enforcement. Thanks so much for being here today, guys.
Thanks, Gunjan.
It's great to be on with you, Gunjan. Hello, John.
Hello, Anthony. How are you?
I'm good.
And thanks to our audience for watching online. For those of you watching on WSJ.com, please drop your questions in the chat, and we're going to try to get to as many of them as possible. It has been a crazy couple months for crypto, to say the least, between the fall of Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto empire in November, a string of bankruptcies, some frauds uncovered, and just yesterday, we learned that Silvergate, one of the most prominent crypto banks, is shutting down. We're going to dive into all of that with John and Anthony over the next 30 minutes. But before we dive in, many of you may know Anthony as a crypto bull and John as a crypto bear. What you may not know is that these two are actually old friends who happen to disagree on this one big thing. John, tell us how you know Anthony.
Well, we've known each other for about 50 years, since we were 10 years old. I first met him when I was in junior high school, and there were some bullies picking on some people, and I saw Anthony stand up for someone, and the bullies went after him. And Anthony was like Ali versus George Foreman, and the next thing you know, those bullies were down.
Despite, I mean, we have literally a 50-year friendship, and we grew up in a fairly affluent community, but it was also a rough community. Am I wrong, John? I mean, there was like blue collar enclaves.
Port Washington native over here.
Yeah, so you know the community, and my uncle owned Ghost motorcycles, which probably predates you, Gunjan, because the place closed in like 1995. But okay. I worked in that motorcycle shop since the age of 13, and of course I think I sold John's parents a moped probably in 1977. But John was too cheap to spring for the kryptonite lock, but that's a whole other story.
All right, let's get into crypto
I love John.
here.
I love John dearly, so I'm going to respectfully disagree with him with a lot of love and kindness. But having said that, there's things that John is saying that I think are valid, that are also worth the community listening to as well. But please
Great.
Go ahead.
Let's dive right in. John, I want to start with you. We have a lot of ground to cover. So in 60 seconds, tell me why you are bearish on cryptocurrencies.
Well, it's not innovation, crypto, to me. It's just mathematical computational blather with no real lawful utility. It fails as an investment. There's no regulatory oversight, no transparency, no consumer protections, no insurance, no licensure, no net capital requirements. It's not the Wild West, Gunjan. It's like a Walking Dead-like post-apocalyptic free-for-all. Forbes did a study of, I think, 151 exchanges, and vast majority of them, there was just match trades and wash trades. It fails as a currency. It's too volatile. Its risks are too high. The tax burden is too much. It fails as a store of value. How do you value mathematical code? It has no intrinsic benefit. I worked at the SEC Enforcement Division for almost 20 years, and you learn how to do due diligence, and you learn to look at products, services, balance sheets, cash flow. There's nothing with crypto. It fails as a marketplace, and it's really sad when you hear it being called a store of value, because there's no way to value it. And it fails as a marketplace because, as I said, the marketplace is completely rife with fraud and not at all reliable. And it's not an equalizer for the unbanked. It's sort of the opposite. And it's really become a very, very challenging affinity fraud for regulators. And the University of Chicago study, a JP Morgan study, a Brookings Institution study have all said that this really hurts the unbanked and it hurts the downtrodden. So those are just, in a nutshell, I'm trying to meet the 60-second limit, some of the problems I have with it.
Thanks, John. Anthony, right back at you. 60 seconds. Why are you bullish?
Well, see, I think John's not a crypto bear. He's like a crypto nihilist. He wants to just wipe out the whole industry, and some of the other academics want to do that. But when they do that, they're missing the value in the underlying technology and the value of what the blockchain represents. And so if you spend time studying the blockchain, what the blockchain is actually about is technical verification, open source, decentralized technical verification. Now, where I think where John and some of the people that dislike crypto get tripped up, and justifiably so, I might add, is the currencies themselves are very volatile. There's 22,000 of them. Some of them are frankly worthless, highly speculative. And because of John's career in the SEC, where he's seen a lot of hucksters and fraudsters, he doesn't want the general public sucked into something that is actually worthless. And so I have an enormous amount of respect for him, and I understand that position. But when you have that position glaringly and you're centered on it, you may be missing some of the great technological aspects of what's going on the blockchain. And I'll mention them briefly, but we'll be able to technically verify things like invoices. Countless amounts of paperwork will be saved. We'll be able to technically verify our codes going into streaming. You know, your brother's sister's niece may not be able to pick off your Netflix account someday because there'll be a digitization and an ID related to the blockchain that allows that company to have a secured relationship with you. One last point. To really understand what's going on, the blockchain is a wonderful delayering mechanism for a society where we can take out middlemen and middlewomen, and a result of which we will save a tremendous amount of money. John did mention something about the unbanked. And so I'll just mention to him that in meeting with El Salvadorian economic ministers, there's 150,000 expats that live in the United States from El Salvador. They are unbanked. They have to go to Western Union or they go to MoneyGram to send money back to their moms and dads in their home country, and they get scalped 10, sometimes 7 to 10% on fees. If you can have a wallet-to-wallet transfer of value between those people, the El Salvadorian government thinks that they'll save $400 million a year. So I hear what John is saying, and he is valid about the fraud in the business, and we need to clean that up. And I would like to see the SEC and the Congress clean that up with legislation and clarity as opposed to regulation by enforcement.
So John, you've been in that seat at the SEC. If you were still there, what would you be taking a closer look at right now?
Well, there's a lot to unpack what Anthony just said. First of all, blockchain is a glorified append-only limited writer spreadsheet, Gunjan, okay? It's been around for 15 years. There's you can go to concern.tech and read how 1,500 different technologists of all different types of expertise have said that this is not any sort of transformational financial panacea. Okay, that ship has long sailed. When it was 2016, 2017, some of my writings, I would say, look, okay, maybe blockchain is something terrific, but I'm talking about crypto. Now I talk about both because there have been so many studies now explaining the problems with this technology. And all these companies, if blockchain were gone tomorrow, okay, Gunjan, your life would be exactly the same, all right? Nothing would change. It's not the kind of technology like the internet or like the cloud or anything else. And it's just a buzzword. So that's how I would start on blockchain. As far as regulation by enforcement, the SEC has brought almost 130 or over 130 cases. And I've read every single one of them. I also have a website, digitaltrustwatch.com, with all the research supporting all these thoughts on blockchain, thoughts on crypto, all independent expert research. I don't get paid a nickel for my point of view ever in any way, shape, or form having to do with crypto. But regulation by enforcement, there's another name for that. It's called enforcement. The law is a principle, securities framework is a principles-based statute. That means that whether it's insider trading, derivatives fraud, muni bond fraud, eel farms, ostrich farms, orange groves. All of these kinds of things are regulated by the SEC, even though they aren't specifically prescribed as such. If I go to my neighbor and I steal my neighbor's lawnmower, and I decide to use the lawnmower all day to mow my lawn, then I put it in my garage, and the police come by, and
he's done that before, Gunjan, just so you know. He's done that. I lived in the same town as him. He's done that.
You know, there's no law that says you can't steal lawnmowers, Anthony, but there's a law that says you can't steal. And the same goes, it's like, Anthony, when we took driver's ed together, okay? And the driver's ed instructor, you will remember this, said, what do you say when you've been caught speeding at 50 or 60 miles an hour on West Shore Road and where the speed limit is 30? Do you have a defense to that? Your defense can't be, I didn't know that was the law. I didn't see this sign. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And these securities laws were specifically written not to be specific. So calling for clarity is always important, and I'd love to have clarity in every law, but the reality is there's lots of clarity. There's 130 SEC cases, and they haven't lost a single one. And you can read the filings in cases like Kik, in cases like Telegram, in cases like LBRY, and you can see lots of judicial determinations along these lines as well. It's pretty unprecedented for the SEC to have a track record of no losses in a program area, but that's what they have in crypto. And I love to criticize the SEC, just not when it comes to crypto.
So Anthony, John is saying that if blockchain left our lives today, our lives would be no different. Is that the case?
Well, I'm sure, like, you know, I mean, in the 1883 Yellowstone series, if they didn't invent the cars, their lives wouldn't be any different. I got what John is saying, but this is a material transformative change in the way we're going to do business. And what John doesn't like about it is the volatility. And John doesn't like that every time we have new technology brought into our society, it does bring scam artists and fraudsters and hucksters. And so that happened in the railroads. It happened in the early telecommunications industry. It also happened in the automotive industry. And so I get those things that John doesn't like about it, but it will materially change your life. It will make your life more economically efficient, and it'll be a tremendous cost savings for large scale industries. Okay, the Gartner Group is an example just on the decentralization of enterprise software. They say that in itself is a $3 trillion industry that will unleash untold cost savings for the society. Now, you guys remember the cloud. It was very skeptical in the beginning. Wait a minute, I'm going to take my data and put it on your server. A lot of people didn't want to do that, but once it got adopted, it became very clear that that was a cost savings and way more efficient way of doing things. And so I think John is missing that aspect of it. Your life's going to get better. You're going to be able to go directly to people that are producing things and over the blockchain because they're going to trust you. There's not going to be that intermediary. I have a restaurant in New York City. If I could use the blockchain and have a wallet-to-wallet transfer between the consumer and the restaurant, our margins in New York City are something like 15%, our gross margins. If we could save that 3 to 3.5% without going through the intermediary, it's a 20% increase in our gross margins. That means we can pay our wait staff and our chefs and everybody in the community more money, and we could probably also reduce prices. Okay, so John,
when do you think you'll be able to do that? When will we see that?
Well, I think
Anthony?
that's coming.
Never. It's just
Okay,
John, aspirational, Anthony.
John says never. Well, that's because he's thinking about the world linearly, not exponentially. So I was told in 1998, when it took me 55 seconds to download my AOL page as I was listening to my modem Warren Burr to catch a dial tone, that we would never be having a Zoom call like this. I was told that there's no way we're going to stream 4K video to billions of people or trillions of dollars of transactions were going to happen over the internet. In the year 2000, Amazon, they posted on Barron's a picture of Jeff Bezos inside of a bomb. And they said, Amazon.bomb, the age of this internet retailer is now over. We have a tendency to think linearly. We're designed that way. But the world is happening exponentially.
Anthony,
so
I don't think
John's missing that because he thinks like a cop. Okay, you know what JFK said about RFK? He said the SOB thinks like a cop, and John thinks like a cop. I can't confirm or deny whether I got a speeding ticket on West Shore Road. I'm sure John got several. Okay, but what I'm here to tell you is he thinks like a cop, and I think like an innovator, and I think like a capital allocator ready to explore this industry because it's going to materially benefit your life over the next 15 years.
It's been around forever. It's not a new thing anymore. And you know, you listen to all the earnings calls of Apple, Amazon, Google, Alphabet.
The internet started in 1969. The applications and use cases didn't happen until 1995.
Okay, look, you listen to all their earnings calls. Nobody's talking about blockchain. It's a clunk. You read the Concern.tech letter where over 1,500 different expert technologists who have nothing to gain by this. They're all wrong. When I was chief of the Office of Internet Enforcement at the SEC, which was for 11 years, I considered myself an internet evangelist. I ran around the country everywhere I go training people. I set up the first terminal for the first internet terminal in the SEC Division of Enforcement. I considered my role to be one to promote the technology. I thought the same thing about the cloud, but there are always naysayers around. Blockchain is different. And you know, you can always have these aspirations. You can always say it's going to be the societal panacea. But the reality is, if you woke up tomorrow and it was gone, nobody would notice. Every technologist said, I asked a senior technologist at Google once, well, what about blockchain? You know, I have this website. I want to put up everything possibly I can do. And he said, John, it's a spreadsheet. It's not a computer chip. And Anthony, when you talk about this decentralized finance and this disintermediation notion, you're really doing things that can hurt consumers. The consumer needs that trust. They need that intermediary. When you sign on to Amazon and you buy something and it comes and it's wrong, or there's some sort of problem with the transaction, having your credit card in the mix or having your bank in the mix actually helps you. Number one, because they're regulated, meaning there's oversight, inspection, audit, licensure, net capital, everything that goes along with that. And those protections are very critical and give us all kinds of confidence. So to say that we want people to go peer-to-peer, we want code as law, we want smart contracts to dictate this. What happens? You know, your car shows up, you use a smart contract to buy it, and it shows up without a windshield. What do? You go back to your computer and put in some code? I put some money into the local Safeway, one of those coin kiosks where you put the money in and you get crypto. Not only did they take 30% of fees when I was done, and I videotaped it all, you can look at it on my website. Not only did they do that, but when I tried to sell the crypto that I bought, I wasn't able to do it. So I had to send some email to their help desk and I was told they can't help me. So, you know, without the regulation, there's no confidence in the transaction. And this stuff, I appreciate the aspiration.
I guess if John was on the Oregon Trail 140 years ago, he would say, well, how is this benefiting us that we're here on the Oregon Trail? There's a lot of people dying and there's a dysentery and all this other stuff. But how is this benefiting us, opening up our society to the West? And yet that opening up to the society of the West unleashed an economic powerhouse and arguably the greatest, most powerful force for prosperity in the world, lift my family out of poverty. So you know, what John is saying is very short-sighted. John, I gave you the opportunity to speak. Let me talk for 30 seconds. Right. And you can go riff, okay? What John is saying is very, very short-sighted because he's looking at the technology today and he's looking at the fact that the Luddites like him inside the SEC don't want to regulate it because it's politically expedient for right now not to regulate it, okay? But what they're missing is as the technology exponentially grows, the car without the windshield, there will be a solution for that. The same way there are solutions on the web today in 2023 that didn't exist in 1998. One last point, and then John, you can speak again. CTOs, Fortune 1000, in an interview, in a survey that was done by Casper Labs, 87% of those CTOs said that they were investing in the blockchain. He mentioned Google. Google just did a deal with Solana in November and Casper Labs last week. So there are people inside that amazing corporation that believe in the blockchain and are using it. Now, Jamie Dimon calls it a pet rock because he likes to keep the regulators off his back, and I understand that. But he's spending hundreds of millions of dollars inside of JP Morgan developing products associated with the blockchain. So John, I hear you about the fees. You're right about that. Let's regulate it so that we can accelerate the maturation of the industry. Because anytime that you've had regulation, go back to the 33 Act, the 1940 Act, it was better flow of capital in a society at lower costs. So I'm all about let's regulate it, but that requires legislation and that requires direction. The 133 cases that he's citing, he's forcing the industry to shoot in the dark. Okay, and it's nonsensical. We're a better country than that. And one last point, the Dubai government, the DIFC and the AGM, they're building the protocols of the future. They know they're going to trade it, and they know they're going to make it available to the corporations over there. I don't want the United States to be left behind. Go ahead, John.
John, I want to move to today's news, which is Silvergate. What does that mean for the industry? Yesterday, the bank said it was shutting down. Are there spillover effects here?
The Silvergate debacle is a cataclysmic event for the crypto industry, the crypto ecosystem. The ecosystem is rife with so many criminals. Remember, we have ransomware, but for Bitcoin, there would be no ransomware. And I'm a ransomware expert. There were 1,251 cases reported to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Center last year, 1,251 of ransomware attacks. $1.3 billion of ransomware was paid, ransom extortion payments were made. Not a single person was tracked down, not a single person caught. Human sex tracking, drug dealing, terrorism financing, sanctions evasion. North Korea is building nuclear weapons using the crypto that they get from their ransomware attacks. So getting back to Silvergate, you have the prudential regulators, thankfully. And look, Anthony's heart's in the right place. He wants to make the world better. He's an incredible success story, one of the most spectacular entrepreneurs I have ever known, and obviously one of the most loyal friends I could ever have. But he's being short-sighted because this is
not going to be easy on you for saying that.
No, I don't. I'm not asking that. Let me just.
I'm ready to respond, but keep
going.
Let
me get to Gunjan's question. Liquidity, safety and soundness, and money laundering. Those are three huge categories that the banking regulators have been very, very, very curious about and very, very aggressive about for the last year. The FDIC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and the Fed have issued letters, notifications, and other regulatory pronouncements, all saying the same thing. If you do anything crypto related and you're a bank, not only do you need to notify us, but you also need our permission. So there are a very, very small amount of banks. Silvergate was like this tiny real estate bank that suddenly got into crypto and became the bank of choice, just like for criminals, essentially, and got themselves in trouble. There's an old saying, if you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. And that's what happened with Silvergate. You're not going to see banks being able to do this. What you're going to see, it's going to be like going into a casino, right? Using your chips to gamble, winning all these chips, and then going to cash out, and there's going to be nowhere to get the fiat. The fiat is key to everything because the only reason anyone's investing in crypto, again, it doesn't work as a currency, as a store of value. It's pure speculation, pure greater fool theory. You're hoping that some greater fool will be around. This is something we talked about at the SEC often, will be around to pay more for it. So that's the only reason people are buying it. And if you can't convert it to fiat because no bank will let you do it, then it's going to go away. Imagine being able to go into a casino and not being able to cash out your chips. And remember, this casino, the crypto casino, has no regulation, has no audits, inspections, or examinations, has nothing in terms of consumer protection or US federal oversight or state
Anthony, your thoughts on Silvergate?
Well, so listen, John's sort of making my case with what he's saying, which is why I'm letting him continue to talk. He's saying there's no oversight or regulation because of the government's absenteeism. The government could clearly go in there and provide guidelines, and the good actors like Brian Armstrong at Coinbase, as an example, would respond to that. But we have that political quagmire going on right now. John is wrong about Silvergate being this cataclysm. It is an event. It's a predictable event born from a 500 basis point interest rate increase in 21 months with guidance for probably another additional 150 to 200 basis points of increase. They made some managerial decisions there that were probably wrong. They should have been more diversified, but it's not a cataclysm. Let me tell you why. We've taken $2+ trillion out of the cryptocurrency markets, and it has had no discernible effect on the economy. I want you to imagine the money center banks. I want you to imagine the banks that are tied to the Federal Reserve System. If we had a $2 trillion cataclysm, okay, there would be a 7-alarm fire going on in the United States. And that speaks to decentralization being anti-fragile and decentralization being sturdy. And what do we know about our country? Our government is decentralized, which is why it's the longest standing government in our current history, 246 years old. Decentralized things work better than centralized things. And the blockchain is going to bring that forward into the society. And people should really learn about it, and they should embrace it. And they shouldn't be afraid of it, because we've got people that are looking through the rear view mirror and saying everything's fine when the forward progress is through our windshield.
Look,
Anthony, I want to move to some audience questions because we have a ton here to get through. Sumit asks, the rising interest rate environment is new to Bitcoin. How will this asset continue outperforming other risk assets without the tailwind of low rates and higher yields in the treasury market? Anthony, can you take this one?
Is that for me? Okay, so
yeah, that's for you, Anthony.
My answer to that is that you have to zoom out. It's a very highly volatile asset. We all know that. But you have to zoom out. You should not be an investor in Bitcoin unless you have a 3 to 5 year horizon. And where John is right, there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of get rich FOMO going on in the industry. And what I admire about John and the SEC is they're trying to protect people from that. So if you're thinking in that way, that short-termism, get out. Okay, but if you have a 3 to 5 year horizon, I ask you to zoom out on Bitcoin. Look at the zigs and zags. It's one of the best performing investments in the history of the world. And we're going from a penny to $20,000 or $21,000 today. And I think that those tokens will easily be worth 100,000 because there's a fixed supply of those tokens. And as the applications ramp up, the demand for that token will correspondingly ramp up. But you have to be patient. All early technologies come with monstrous volatility.
Do you still think it's an inflation hedge, Anthony?
But I never said that it was.
Okay.
Any of my commentary, CNBC, letters I've written, op-eds, etc., I've said that this is an early adopting technical asset. Then someone pushes back and says, well, it's 14 years old. I said, okay, let's go to the Wright brothers. In 1903, they caught the wind and flew the plane. By 1917, there were naysayers saying there was no commercial application for aviation. Okay, and these things take time. He brought up the internet. DARPA invented the internet in the 60s. The commercial application didn't take place until after the Netscape browser in 1995.
Look, let me just talk about the investing part, though, Anthony. Where are you gonna put this crypto that you buy? You're gonna put it in places like FTX. You're gonna put it in places like Celsius, like BlockFi, like Voyager.
You could put it.
Here's the problem.
You can put it in NYDIG. You can put it at Fidelity.
Or how about Binance, where you know nothing about them?
You could put it at Coinbase.
Where their headquarters is.
You could put it at Coinbase. I know you guys don't. I know you cops on the block don't like Binance, and there's probably reasons why you don't like it. But Coinbase and Fidelity are good solutions.
Coinbase is not.
How about your own?
First of all, Coinbase is not a registered financial firm. They're a registered public company, but they don't have the inspections, the examinations, the audit. Those kinds of rules and that kind of 24/7 financial
legislation in the Congress to make that compulsory. They're waiting for that legislation, John.
You can't find a place to put your crypto because it's all such an unregulated.
I got mine at Fidelity, and when I eventually get you to buy some Bitcoin, your account is going to be right next to mine because it's SCA and SCA.
Look, the remarkable
right
thing
next
is
to my account at Fidelity.
This custody thing it's just the banks, the financial institutions, they're all under siege in terms of their crypto holdings. It's a very small ecosystem. It's extremely incestuous. And everything is related to everyone. And the risks are astronomical. And for what? And, I mentioned all those dire externalities and you can't write them off. I was an instructor at the FBI Academy doing in-service lessons. I've met with the FBI recently on numerous occasions. Crypto is a major problem. You can occasionally get lucky and find someone's crypto in a laptop, in a popcorn tin, under a blanket in a bathroom. But for the most part, as I explained, nobody gets caught. And so you have this horrendous crime, all for what? Like, I just don't understand that, Anthony. Like, what are we getting at?
You're making
All
a
disappear
brilliant and
tomorrow.
eloquent case for getting the SEC and the Congress in gear to provide the guidelines. Okay. And by the way, you're talking about criminality. The US dollar has been used for more criminality than any other currency in world history. So
you know what?
So take a step back, recognize that something is happening. The train has already left the station. The rest of the world is moving on, John. You know what? Hong Kong accepting and allowing for license of crypto.
They are not.
Dubai, ABGM allowing for it. South America, Africa, who have an issue with the current global banking system and do have a lot of unbanked people.
Wait a minute.
Are using.
Wait, let me just.
Guys, we have 2 minutes left. I want to get in one more audience question, which is Virginia asks the Big Four.
He does a lot of interrupting, again, a lot of interrupting. Okay, but he's at his dinner table for Washington. Lots of interrupting.
The Big Four audit firms haven't audited crypto firms. Why is that?
The reason why is simple. Because you can't look at an audit of a crypto firm. The way they want to do it is they want like a satellite snapshot of what's going on there. They never want to provide liabilities. They never want to provide any of their financial assets. You know, you talk about places like El Salvador, where it's been an incredible failure. My friend Ben McKenzie and Jacob Silverman went down there for 3 weeks, wrote a big article about how it's completely corrupt and not helping anyone. So I don't like using that as an example. The sunlight on crypto is going to be extraordinary over the next several years. More and more laws coming to light. The IRS is going after everyone, all of these people who haven't paid taxes. They're winning all of their subpoenas in court. So the idea that you can go about your business in the crypto world, as I said, it's for what? And I'm just not seeing the pluses. I know your heart's in the right place, but I don't see the pluses. The reason the Big Four stay away from it is because it's a toxic place. You don't think an engagement manager in the Big Four would love to take on one of these big crypto entities, and the fees are unimaginable. I was a consultant for 5 years. I ran the DC office of a very large global consultancy. You don't like to turn down big engagements, but you do when you're afraid that it's going to that you're going to end up in a terrible place because of that engagement. So they don't have the access. They don't, and I love how the industry says, well, the Big Four just don't understand us. That's insanity. You know, these people
I don't actually think that's what the issue is, but I actually don't think that that's what the issue is. The issue is that these accounts are perpetual. And until we come up with the right regulatory guidelines to analyze and audit perpetual accounts, there's a problem that those Big Four auditors don't want to take the risk on. But that is the most interesting part of what's going on, because as an entrepreneur, you're thinking about something that's at 0 that you want to turn into 1. If this goes to 1, it's at a quarter right now. It went from 0 to a quarter. It's on its way to 1. And as it becomes something, it's going to transform the world. I don't want the United States left out. John apparently wants the United States left out. You got these people you guys were writing about today in the journal. Lovely article here from these professors. They want to wipe out the United States' involvement in crypto. That's going to be a shame, because we only have 330 million people, and there are 8 or 9 billion people on the planet. And we're going to miss this opportunity and cede our mantle of financial services leadership due to this type of narrow-minded thinking. Okay, so John should be joining forces with me and coming up with the right regulatory rubric, okay, as opposed to this. And by the way, Gunjan, I know we're out of time, but there's cultists on both sides, okay? There's these uber Bitcoin maximalists, and they chant and go crazy. And then you see the John anti-Bitcoin lunacy, okay, with the cult-like theories, okay? I'm in the middle. John is right about a lot of what he's saying. I would like all that fraud and all that nonsense eliminated, but the prowess of the technology, I would like implemented and adopted.
Anthony, I have one last question for you. We have about 30 seconds. And Ashok asks, what's the future of Solana after the FTX fiasco?
It's a really good question. In 30 seconds, I met with Anatoly on Monday in San Francisco. As you know, the main debt went down temporarily again. They are bolstering the main debt. There's a tremendous amount of throughput on Solana. And Solana could very well be the platform that we tokenize all securities on. So I'm very bullish on Solana, but full disclosure, you know, our firm has probably an $8 or $9 million balance sheet position in Solana. So I want people to know that from a disclosure point of view.
Awesome. It looks like that's about all the time that we have. If anyone
Give him the
missed
last word, Gunjan. He's dying for the last word. Give him the last word.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, John.
Look at him with the cop outfit on and everything. Give him the last word. The badge
thank
is
you both.
behind him. Hey.
Thank you
All right,
both
no
for joining
problem.
us today, and thank you to our journal subscribers.
Thanks,
for
Gunjan.
tuning
Take
in
care, my
today.
friend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
God bless, John. God bless.
You too, my brother.
Yeah, that was awesome, huh? That was good. I'm so glad that I was able to catch this debate and bring it to people. That was awesome. Anthony did really good. By the way, Anthony Scaramucci follows me. I'm just saying, like, he follows me. I'm just saying. That was a great debate. I liked it a lot. It's discouraging that he is shilling Solana. So let me bring that back. He's invested in Solana, he's invested in Algorand, he's invested in Bitcoin, and he's invested in cryptos like that. He was asked about Solana. It's not that he shilled it. It's not that he shilled Solana over Algorand. Somebody asked him about Solana. He has a position in Solana. He's going to defend his position, and you can't get mad at him for doing that, right? It's not that he said Solana is better than Algorand or Ethereum is better than Bitcoin or one or the other. He's defending his investment. If you're invested in a product and somebody asks you a question about the product, what are you going to say? You're not going to say, oh, this is shitty. No, you're going to say this product is awesome. So shout out. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, he got a lot of money in there. So Scaramucci's worth like $250 million. And that guy, John, is probably worth tens of millions himself. I mean, I don't disagree with you about Solana. I don't like it either. I'm just trying to defend what Scaramucci said. What is he supposed to say? Like, he's invested in the product. He's not supposed to say it's shitty. You know what I mean? He's obviously going to say this is a good product. But yeah, I agree with you about Solana. I don't personally like it. Yeah. How's everyone doing today? How's everyone doing? I know I put this up last minute, but how's everyone doing today? Oh, man. That was really good. That was really good. What else? What else? What do you guys want to talk about? I wasn't really planning to talk about anything besides for this. And I just really wanted to bring you guys this debate because I think it was going to be cool. And yeah, Bitcoin is now under $21,000. Hedera is now spot 33 of CoinMarketCap. It's actually down to 5.7 cents. Algorand is down to 19 cents. Quant is down to $112. Guys, I made a video before New Year's, and I said that if you have not got into New Year's, if you haven't gotten into crypto earlier, you're going to get your chance. This is your chance. Unfortunately, crypto is sucking it hard, and the economy is going to get a lot worse, guys. Just understand what's going to happen. We need to increase unemployment to subdue inflation. Inflation keeps going up, which means that the Federal Reserve is going to keep raising interest rates. We thought that we were out of it. Unfortunately, it's not. And yeah, it sucks. In terms of HBAR, Hedera, there might be a compromise in the DeFi smart contract platforms. So Hedera informed a lot of their DeFi protocols to take the DeFi off. And the total value locked in the DeFi for Hedera is now down 30%. And that's what's happening right now. So do you believe the crypto does not store value? It was quite strange from him to say it. It's very hard to say crypto is a store of value because of what's happening right now. And the reason why people thought crypto was a store of value as opposed to now that it's not, and I'll explain to you why, is because crypto used to be a hedge against inflation. But now that inflation's up and crypto is no longer a hedge against inflation, it's very hard to say that crypto is a store of value. Let's be honest here. If you look, let me just share my screen. Let's just be very, very honest, okay? Watch this. This is crypto. Over the last 24 hours, the entire crypto market went down 3.5%. Bitcoin is down 11%. Ethereum is down 9%. BNB is down 6%. Cardano down 11%. Polygon, Solana down 20%. Every crypto is down 10% and up, right? Can you really call crypto a store of value? It can be down 20% today and it could be up 20% tomorrow. Is that a store of value? I'm not going to give you my opinion, but let's just be honest here. Is it or is it not? There's no right or wrong answer. This was not the case before, but it no longer acts against inflation. Sucks. What do you think? What are your take on Atomic Wallet? There's nothing bad about Atomic Wallet. It's a multi-cryptocurrency wallet. You can do a lot of staking on it. There's nothing that I know of that's bad about Atomic Wallet. You know, I just know you can't interact with DeFi on the actual protocols. You can stake with some, but you can't actually be involved with the actual DeFi. For example, if you use Atomic Wallet for Algorand, you can't use the DeFi. If you're using Atomic Wallet for Hedera, you can't use the DeFi, so on and so forth. Other than that, it's fine. Every stable currency is a store of value. Correct. Cryptocurrency stablecoins is a store of value, except when it's not. And all I got to point you to is the algorithmic stablecoins, right? Technically, the algorithmic stablecoins it depegged. So technically, you could say not all stablecoins are stores of value. But I think when they're talking about cryptos, they're taking stablecoins out of the picture. Everyday Algonaut. By the way, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not trolling you. I'm just saying that I'm playing devil's advocate from the other point of view. And when the guy is talking, I don't think he meant stablecoins. I think he's talking about crypto in general. What's going on here? Why is my music playing? No, I'm not following Luna at all. I'll try to take a look when I get a moment. I'm not really following Luna. Guys, I'm going to get out of here. Please enjoy the rerun. If you guys want to support the channel, as you guys have been asking, I do have channel membership. Just click on the channel membership. It's $3 a month. It helps me out a lot, and it allows me to bring this type of content. So if you appreciate me bringing you breaking news like this and giving you all the videos and a wide array of different type of videos across both of my channels, show some love with $3 a month. I would appreciate the support. It helps me do YouTube full time. Thank you very, very much. If you don't, that's quite all right as well. It doesn't make a difference. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Have a great day.